Alright, let's play Hunt Showdown. Jesus Christ. Beverage. Select. Oh shit. Fucking sound. What's up, Fish Missile? I'm just figuring out. I'm waiting for Fade Runner to get on. Oh yeah, that's right. I got a prestige, so I can actually fucking. Let me text this man. What up, DJ Blaze is on? Are they not familiar with Stonewall? Like, do we not? Do they not understand why Pride exists in the first place? That shit's kind of like sad, low key. Like with black people, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like Black History Month and like Negro History Week and stuff, and Carter G. Woodson, that shit makes sense. You know what I mean? Because black people, the education system is designed to fail black people. But like, white people are queer as fuck too. You know what I mean? So it's like the fact that white people. Well, I guess it makes sense because Marsha P. Johnson was black, and they can't possibly know anything about black people. My fucking, I'm so congested that my sleep apnea came back. Can I actually get a shotty with this? I can. Oh, where's my gator? There she is. I can't though. What the fuck? Apparently not. We were out at a pride parade that didn't have any trans-specific orgs. Figured that out later on in the night. Of course. There was a whole kerfuffle here in Baltimore because I mean, Hunfest is not pride. It's just straight up fucking a white cosplayer festival. But they like didn't want to have Planned Parenthood as part of like as one of the vendors. And then they backtracked and were like, no, you guys can totally vend. And Planned Parenthood were like, actually, no, thank you. It's so silly. So silly. I literally never use these. I'm going to sell them. people's pride towards ending them up, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the co-op, that's always been the move, honestly. Dumbass. No way, dude. Are you serious? The co-op, and the other thing is, this is why I don't do debates and shit like that on here, is because, like, there's a lot, it's mad easy. It's mad easy to fucking just reinforce the status quo, and there's mad rewards for it. You know what I mean? There's little to no reward for challenging the status quo, but there's mad fucking, like, there's actually repercussions for challenging the status quo if you think about it, but to reward the status, there's mad rewards for upholding the status quo. Liberal politics have always been the move, because the people in power are not scared of us. And the more docile we are, the better it is for them. Even in situations like in 2020, what were we really gonna do? You know what I mean? The end of all that. You're getting paid to agitate, I got questions? Yeah. Let me open up Steam because I'm about to buy Street Fighter 6 as well. What up, Ellie?
Street Fighter 6.
Fighting is an art.
MK1, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, the mechanics themselves look good, but my main is like Jax is a fucking cameo character. What am I supposed to do? Jax was literally the only character I was good with. And my alternate's not even in the game, period. Like it's hard for me to get excited for it when I'm gonna. Oh shit! I'm gonna have to learn whole new tech just to play the game. No way! Where the fuck is Fade? Where the fuck is Kuma? Oh, I might end early. I completely forgot it's Friday night. Got a different Pete fade? You want to hop one? I'm probably about to get off. I gotta work in the morning, bro. God damn it!
Shout out my man Clickbait. I feel like 416 with N16. When I miss, kill instant. Can I lose the victory? Bitch, you know it's icy league. Must go down in history. You will know true misery. You do not know intensity. I show you something interesting. Move I make is finishing. Space King is so menacing. Off Xanax, ball and Hennessy. Turn into the other me. Take you out of efficiently. I snipe you from the other street. You will not discover me, police will not discover me. I am far too underground, legendary luxury. You see it when no one's around, and I ain't with the fuckery. These niggas don't have style or sound, the songs they make are ugly. Need to stop wasting all these beats up in the streets. Niggas flowing straight Freon, but they swear they got the heat. They lucky this ain't 1996 and Murder Inc. If Suge was in they stew, these niggas be getting beat. And if they life depended on it, these niggas would be deceased. I run the beat like Zeke the Freak, cause all I do is eat. And all y'all do is rap that fuck shit and wear Supreme. It's time to take it back to days when niggas had them raps for days. Fuck them y'alls and fuck them A's. Niggas bout to fade away. Niggas spitting goofy shit, they need to fucking stay away. I came through the always slave. Like dragons, man, I always say. See me at your local spot. Got that microphone, so these niggas know it's time to pray.
That's my boy. Shout out to Anubis. He's produced that beat. Space King, DC rapper.
In the game like an all-star 6-man shorty. I pull up and now I'm all called wrist game shorty. I shoot this shit like I'm John.
What the fuck? No. How was that not a headshot? Honestly, how was that not a headshot? I did shoot him in the head. I shot him in the arm. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay. God.
Big man, shorty, I could hit you from a mile off. Damn, click got the beam out. Niggas talking pressure, so I had to bring the ski out. My niggas, they get reckless, so I had to bring the team out. When I got perfection, so I had to bring the G's out. Don't worry, it's a freeze out. Niggas talking crazy, about to pull up with them free rounds. Dirty, get dirty, AP rounds. floor, I know you feel that. Put that nigga body in the dirt, I vacuum seal that. And niggas hate that, run it like a racetrack. I gave him 10, but he only bought 8 back. I shot him down, man, down like Apex. Chopper got him frozen Sub-Zero, gon' break that. Travel bag, pull up, gon' take that. Bitches on my line, I'm probably gon' crank that. I hit a bitch like a motherfucking hi-hat. Got the beam on top of the Glock, I don't care where you hide at. Hey, where your hood at? Your bitch, that's where I ride at. I post up right in front your building, that's where I get high at. And niggas ain't about to do shit because they bitch made. Spade skin, 6 man, walking with a switchblade.
Quick play is different. I'm about to get some randoms to play with. The sweat is a little too real, honestly. Kind of doesn't make sense. I like watching the Alka-Seltzer tablets dissolve in the water. Reminds me of Terminator 2. What up, man? What's up, Globus? Should I prestige? That beat was from that was actually from hang on, I'll show you. It was from Extreme G3 on the PS2. Matter of fact, I think I'm just gonna do a little React content before I end. Because we didn't check out the MK1 reveal, did we? So let's take a look at that. There's also some gameplay, some high level gameplay. It looks like it features Jax. And this is what I was saying earlier, is like, it's really hard to get excited for this game because you know, my main is just a cameo character, and my alternate's not even in the fucking game. You know what I mean? So with that said, let's check this out.
Sonya Blade, Jax. Cage Mansion.
You will not enter the Temple of the Elements.
I will have the power you've locked away inside.
Round one, fight!
Uh-oh, Ice Clone is back. So Fatal Blow is back.
I am the chosen.
Round two, fight!
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I really don't like the cameo fighter system. Like, I don't know how they managed to come up with something somehow even worse than variations, but you know.
Round one, fight!
Between me and my sister.
Round two, fight!
I don't know. That shit just looks mad silly. Like it'll give mad more variation. Like I'll have to see it play at a high level. You could beat Sonic Fox? Okay. I don't think this is Sonic Fox's gameplay.
Fatality. Kitano wins. Round one, fight. Round two, fight!
Wild.
pathetic and weak.
Round 2, fight. Finish him.
Yo, when he gets big and steps on him. Yo. Oh my God.
We always want our games to play differently from each other. And if I were to describe how MK1 plays compared to the previous games, I say we loosened up restrictions. We really loosened things up. And so we're just going to the player, here's a sandbox full of toys with combos and adding air combos, adding cameo characters and saying, what can you do with it? We didn't want to like start a whole new thing and have brand new characters where everybody wants to see Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Raiden, Liu Kang, return. So we felt like telling a new story with existing characters was like the strongest way to go. But they're going to be reintroduced with brand new identities, backstories, roles, relationships with each other. And that is basically the premise. It's a brand new story using characters that you already know and love, but in completely different scenarios, so they're going to be reintroduced and all that. At the end of MK11, as you know, Liu Kang was kind of made the fire god, and he eventually became the keeper of all things, the ultimate being, and so he created a brand new universe, created a new Big Bang, basically was trying to restart everything with
the indoor pool is kind of a
turn
flex.
out better
It's
than
kind of icy.
the previous timeline of Mortal Kombat. Liu Kang's biggest difference is he has a much wider range of projectiles, fire projectiles. Like a standard one, if you look, it's like a very tight, like yin-yang that's spinning, that's on fire. He has a ground one that's like a snake, right? He has this gigantic one that he follows up with a flying kick. And then he has an aerial one that shoots like 6 or 7 fireballs. If you catch somebody, you're gonna be juggling them with a number of hits. So his is a lot wilder. He's still very accessible, but it's his projectiles taken to an 11. Sub-Zero has some recognizable stuff, but then he also has a few tricks up his sleeves, right? Like he has his clone, but now there's a version of this clone where he can do 3 of them, really creating like a wall of ice that the opponent is going to have to kind of figure their way through. He has his classics like his slide, his projectile, and all that, but the big kind of crazy clone thing is the one that kind of stands out the most from my perspective. Kenshi, his big emphasis with this game is the spirit that he can control. Imagine like it's this ghost that also has a sword, and the ghost can come flying from the ceiling out of Kenshi. The ghost can jump out and kind of like stand around and fight, and the player can
what the
control
fuck
the
is
ghost
that?
independently, right? And have him, go.
How are you supposed to guard against that? What the fuck is that?
Do the dirty work and all that. So I
Look at
think
that, and that don't use no meter. Look, hold up.
And all that, but the big kind of crazy clone thing is the one that kind of stands out the most from my perspective. Kenshi, his big emphasis with this game is the spirit.
No meter,
that he can
meterless.
control.
Look,
imagine
watch.
like it's this ghost that also has a sword, and the ghost can.
He calls it out. No meter, right? No meter. He calls it out.
Flying from the ceiling out of Kenshi. The ghost can jump out and kind of like stand
What
around
the fuck
and
is
fight, and
this,
the player
dude?
can control the ghost independently, right, and have him, go do the dirty work and all that. So I think Kenshi is one of the more sophisticated characters in the game. It's going going to need some practice getting in there. But in addition to that ghost, he's going to have a cameo character. So in a sense, the player's going to be kind of thinking about 3 characters that they're responsible for. Katana's changed the function of her fans is pretty dramatically different. Normally they behave as projectiles, you know, they hit you, they do damage. Now they kind of like circle around you, lift you up, set you up for combos. They have a lot wilder paths that they take as opposed to kind of just straightforward or something. You know, there's all these curves and they're more versatile, I think, than they were before. But like her fans have a very different property that she has.
Like, I can get the mantra of let's just make everyone busted, but like, that's, I don't know.
I think whenever you add a new, you know, mechanic into a fighting thing, there's challenges that come with it. How does it play with the existing things that we had? You know, we wanted some amount of familiarity, but also a simplicity to it. Cameos started as a completely different feature. Our design team wanted to have individual things like a drone for Sonya, or like kind of like we had the cat with Atrocitus in Injustice 2. Basically something that would come out and kind of help you.
Hold up. I need you to put some respect on Dextar's name, first of all. That's wild.
And I was pushing for everything needs to be used by everyone, right? We didn't want to just have the drone for Sonya. We wanted to have the drone for everybody, right? And I also wanted to have more of a like a novelty with our old games, and so that kind of turned into characters that would come out and help you. And the fact that we can we have Mortal Kombat has about 100 characters that, you know, that we can dig from and include in the game. So that really, once we started going, okay, it's 2 rosters, it's the main roster and then the cameo roster, that really took a life of its own. And so when we started characters jumping out and helping, that was great. We didn't want to go full tag because it was a great feature in MK9, but it wasn't the most used feature, right? And I think at the end of the day, it was because players would have to learn 2 full characters, right, completely. So we just use these utilities. So now you like Kung Lao's teleport, grab his cameo and he'll grab you and teleport with you. You know, you like Jax's ground pound, you like Kano's ball, you like all those iconic moves, right? You can take along with you if you like playing Scorpion, if you like playing Sub-Zero, right? And so there's those mixing and matching, I think, there's something really special going on with that. I feel like Mortal Kombat has always kind of taken the approach of less challenging input requirements to make a move come out. You know, that goes all the way back to the first Mortal Kombat, where Liu Kang was a lot of, you know, tap, high punch, tap, low punch. You know, a lot more people can do that than a dragon punch, you know, yeah, or 2 circles for Zangief's, you know. And so we've always kind of rested in that space of easier control. So I don't think we needed to go too much easier with our controls. And certainly our new feature, the cameo system, you know, it's a button basically that you push, you know, and maybe you go towards and away, stuff like that. So it's anybody can bring a cameo character out without being challenged, you know, technically in terms of input.
The Stone Cold Stunner though is wild. She straight hits him with a diamond
always
cutter.
Talking about guest characters, you know, the process of getting
The
a
fucking
guest character
RKO
isn't just us going, oh, it would be cool to have Freddy in it, and then he's in the game. There's owners of the IP, and there's all these other you know, requirements kind of that we got to kind of check boxes through. So we're always in a state of exploring numerous you know, guest characters. Some make their way through. Some get, you know, hit a hiccup or a snag or some legal thing that you know that prevents us from doing it. So we always have 8 or 9 plates spinning that we're, you know, hoping to who calls kind of makes it through all the way.
So that's cool. What else we got on this? Yeah, that fatality is wild.
Oh, you already know I'm going to react to Mortal Kombat 1 with the greatest of ease. Let's check it out. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, what happened? Turn this up a little bit. We got Scorpion and Sub-Zero. He said, ha! Ooh. You gotta watch out for that one.
Then go before I put you down.
Fight.
Oh,
What up, Sachko?
oh.
I'm
Ooh, I
a
like
real
the stage.
fucking Twitch
The
streamer
stage
now.
is
I'm
cool.
reacting to reactions.
Oh, oh.
You have proven worthy of joining us.
I want that hoodie that Liu Kang has on. That hoodie's kind of icy.
What do you want?
Hold on, let me run that back. Let's peep the hoodie Liu Kang has on.
Come. There are other.
Ooh, I like the stage. This stage look cool.
That combo is dirty.
Oh.
Speaking of icy, that hoodie is icy though. Like, disagreements? The hoodie is icy.
Worthy of joining.
Learning to do astral projection? Right on.
There are other champions, I must gather.
What do you want?
Sento, it's my family blade.
Sento's mine. And I
Even
won't
this
give
stage
up
look
without
cool.
a fight.
Oh, who the heck is that? Oh. Oh. They got crushing blows. Nice.
Apparently they don't have crushing blows in the game anymore. It's just fatal blow.
Is that Johnny Cage? Oh.
Enough. Okay, let's go back to one here. Who are you again?
Lord Liu Kang, protector of Earthrealm, god of fire.
Ooh, Liu Kang. You got Jax. Oh, you got. Was that Jax as an assist? Ah. Ooh, that kick looked cool. I'm not gonna lie.
You have skills, Raiden, but you're inexperienced.
Whatever experience I lack, I make up for in heart.
Oh, that costume look cool. Sonya? What is this, Marvel? Marvel vs. Capcom? What is this assist?
That's what I was saying, yo. They just turned it into MVC.
If your disease becomes known, you will be banished.
That's pretty cool, Sachko.
Katana and Melina?
Or do you secretly covet my throne?
Oh. Ooh, nice teleport. Yo, Goro? Nah, this game looking cool. Hold up. Oh. Nah. I'm seeing the new mechanic. Okay. Striker.
Thanks for the
Oh,
follow.
that's a punish. Ooh, Jax.
Bloody MVC.
Oh. Sheesh. Ooh.
The Azuna drop. I appreciate any game with an Azuna drop in it.
Okay, no. You got a tag team fatality? Oh! Oh, look at this. Oh. Is this like a tag team Mortal Kombat?
Yep.
Nah. This is crazy. Nah. That's what I call.
I fuck with Smug. Shout out to Smug with the greatest of ease. All right, I'm gonna watch this live just because I'm curious, because this motherfucker posted a fucking straight up fucking pipe bomb tutorial online a few days ago. So let's watch this.
Okay, so what is going on with Wrangler Star? You may not know who it is. I'm going to introduce you to him, and I think the transition that I'm seeing is significant. I want to see what you think about this. Let me know, is this, does this have application to your life? Does this make you think? For me, it's been super interesting to watch, and this may surprise you a little bit. I'm excited to show this to you and excited to hear what you have to say.
You know, educated guess, I think this guy might feel a little differently about this guy than I will, but we'll see.
So buckle up, here we go. I showed them to you last week. These are the infinity targets. Let's see if I get it all in there. These things are a beast. The great thing, they're made in the USA, and that's fantastic, but you can go to town with this. 110 rounds in an inch, that's a 5.56. Big stuff like 9mm and 40, spread it out a little bit, but then just spray paint it, it self-heals, and you can get right back to the range. They hang with these clips, super easy. Let me get this right, Johnny 15. This is brand new. I didn't have this for you 2 weeks ago. 15% off Infinity Targets, coupon code Johnny 15.
I'm about to look them up.
Link is down below. Big thank you to those folks. They're fantastic. Jump to it. You people, thank you for every thumbs up. All right, years ago when I first started really getting into YouTube, I started watching Wrangler Star, and y'all did too. He's a homeowner, kind of a homesteader. He calls himself now a professional homeowner. A lot of tips and tricks.
I should say, because I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, is that the whole, like, there's a reason why there's so much like neo-Nazi overlap in the cottagecore, homesteading, etc., like community or like aesthetic or whatever. And it's because, like, think about what homesteading actually is for longer than 2 seconds. Who were the original homesteaders and how did they do their homesteading? What land did they do that homesteading on? And how did they come about that land? It's really not hard to understand, honestly, but
at this point, like, he's massive, 2.3 million subscribers. His videos have been viewed
almost 2.5 million
clicks. That is a lot. That is significant. Now, up until recently, he has done, and I don't even know his real name. I've watched him for years. He's kind of done, this is some of his most famous videos, up in the millions of clicks. How the U.S. Forest Service repairs loose axe heads, sword fighting, how to repair a garden hose, how to solder.
And this is how I got into pro-ho, is like some of the stuff that he posts is actually pretty useful, like you know, fire starter kits, you know, all kinds of different stuff that you might, if you're an outdoorsy type like me, might be useful to you. I'm just gonna show you the thumbnail. I'm not gonna actually show you the video itself because I don't know if it'll get me banned or not. But hang on. The title of it.
Getting bullied.
The title.
Young man that was born a bastard by.
Oh, just listen to how he talks.
If you're a young man that was born a bastard by a selfish or irresponsible single mother that didn't teach you anything, let me drop some knowledge on you.
Weird, right? Now look at
If you
this.
find yourself getting bullied, take one of these and put it inside this red one. Now take this blue one and put...
See, I'm not going to finish the video, but weird, right? And the caption is how to get even with a bully, rainbow flag. Yeah.
Wires like a pro, how to chainsaw mill, things like that. And I've watched him for years. There's knives, pocket knives that I've bought because of him.
That's not because of him, but Spyderco are good knives. That's obviously a Spyderco. Looks like a Spyderco Delica. Good knife. I'd recommend it.
And he homesteads. You get to watch a lot of cool stuff. Very, very well done. He's always had a little bit of a 2A flavor. He's the one that turned me on to Securit. They call Securit those gun lockers. I use those in the house. I paid retail for mine because of this guy. And just kind of a homesteader. Really, really good, really well spoken, and really easy to consume his material.
If you're white, I'll say that. But Stefan Molyneux, so let's, just because this shit's mad funny to me, Elon Musk went through the trouble to unban Stefan Molyneux from Twitter, and he doesn't even use his Twitter account. Stefan Molyneux joined 2011. He got banned in like 2020 during, because obviously it was 2020. And he hasn't been on since. Obviously, we're looking at his profile, so he's not banned anymore. But like, he just straight up doesn't use Twitter. It's kind of funny to me. But yeah.
You got it? You tracking? I'm not paying a close enough attention to know when the switch changed, but over the last few months, y'all have been
yeah, you just brand yourself as a modern day colonist. Yeah, we're homesteading. We're settlers. You know what I mean?
Sending me his stuff going, Johnny, what the heck? Here's 2 examples for you, and he doesn't even really explain it. Maybe on his main channel he does. I don't watch enough. I kind of see it now more on Instagram. Here's a great example. He says this, hey, if this shows up at your front door, man, here's how you tackle it. And it's one of those.
And see, this is the kind of useful stuff. This is the stuff that I watched. That's actually a diagram on how to mechanically defeat a dog walker drone. He talks about where the CPU is, where the drive servos are for the legs, and where the weak points for stuff like thermite would be on the top.
Those drone dog things, and he shows you where to hit it. He shows you what caliber to use, and then if you don't have the right caliber, he can tell you to use sand, and I forget what else. What is it? Sand and like used motor oil or something?
Sand and motor oil.
To mess up the joints on that thing so it shuts down, how to mark it with paint, and he'll show you where to shoot the battery. Oh, it gets see for yourself. Here's what he just did.
Bro, he's just straight up Fed posting. Like just he got mad as fuck that he got fired from the like federal fire like control service or whatever the fuck he was working for. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna start Fed posting. You know what I mean? This shit is wild.
The other week, UN ballistic helmets tells you where the weak places are on it.
That's
and then
wild.
At the end says act accordingly.
That's wild.
And that's why I pressed record on today's video. I have seen a transition with this gentleman. I don't know him at all, but I've seen a transition. And somebody asked me today, they said, Johnny, what do you think happened? And I said, I doubt anything's changed. Nobody gets to the point of showing UN ballistic helmets by accident. My suspicion, this is me talking, and maybe projecting, is that when you have a regime that on the first day, the very first day that he was elected into office.
Oh my God. Yo. Oh.
Office, he canceled the XL pipeline. And from there, we get to the point now where they are flooding across the border unhindered. And in fact, they are being helped across the border. We're now buying oil from overseas, and the very interests of our country are being stripped away.
I told you it was an educated guess that this dude might have a very different opinion than I did, right? He's like, oh yeah, this dude is clearly Fed posting, but it's not his fault because the election was stolen.
In fact, they are operating in the disinterest of our country.
They're definitely operating in my fucking interest. I like, in terms of the pipeline, I feel like that was in everyone's best interest because like, I'm pretty sure this dude enjoys like clean water. You know what I mean? And this past week was rough as fuck for me. I don't know how anybody else on the East Coast felt. I know Paradigm. I watched Paradigm, even though he was doing a thing. But yeah, yeah.
Wrangler Star had a video on today, and I'll put a thing on here. I just jumped over to his channel a few minutes ago.
Oh my God. Yo, what is happening with this dude?
He was doing a live show right then, and that's an interesting little graphic there.
Also, hold up. Happy Pride Month, everyone. I'll just say that. Cops do not belong at Pride. Fuck the police. Fuck Pat Robertson. Happy Pride Month.
Isn't it? I believe that this regime has had to force a lot of us to open up our hearts a little bit. And I think we're seeing the real Wrangler Star here. I'm not trying to project onto him why. I just suspect this has been there all along. Do you identify with this? Let me know down below what you think, but I don't think he's the only one. I'm Johnny B, reminding you it's okay to be white. It's okay to be straight. It's okay to be a man. It's okay to be a Christian. Act accordingly.
Well, oh my God, dude. Oh my fucking God, dude.
What is going on with Wrangler Star?
Anyway, let's consult the comments because I know it's a wooden outro. Love it. It is absolutely not okay to be white, and I've said this multiple times. Cody is the neighbor, friend, brother. Blah, blah, blah. These people are a complete fucking like. Fam, this is why we say shit like arm trans folk, arm the homeless. And his comments are like just full of people like, yeah, I relate to this dude. Like, so I'm trying to find because shout out to Dat Katie. Dat Katie tried to get me to have a conversation with President Sunday about institutional racism versus interpersonal racism. I'll pull it up just so you guys can see. Because I'm probably not going to talk to this guy. I don't think it'll be a fruitful conversation. Just from understanding what I know about that entire sphere and the trajectory that I've seen Sunday have over the past few months and the communities that he's trying to ingratiate himself into. Let me see if I can find this conversation. So Sunday says, Katie says that being progressive might also be about engaging with the concept of racism equals prejudice plus power, but maybe there are just types. I should say point blank that I think the term progressive is like toothless and utterly meaningless. It's synonymous with liberal to me now, because for as far as I understand it, progressive was just like a rebranding of the term liberal. But President Sunday came with the honestly kind of shocking response of racism isn't prejudice plus power. That's simplistic. That's a simplistic slogan with no sociological value. No sociological value. The motherfucker's in the United States of America and thinks that prejudice plus power has no sociological value. I can only assume he's memeing. But she says, can you give me your definition of racism? Hopefully it wouldn't be a simplistic slogan without sociological value, but I've seen you use it, so I doubt it. He responds with, and this is like just straight up word salad. Because here's the thing, right? If you can't explain something to someone like they're 5, you don't understand it. You look at all of this and tell me what child would be able to understand this here, right? Because prejudice plus power is simple, it's perfect when you're trying to understand real life racism, right? Like if I had a son or a daughter or a non-binary child that got called the N-word at school or something like that and asks me what is racism, I would sit them down and say, unfortunately, white people in America, blah, 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 blah. Like, that would be it. Prejudice plus power, right? Look at every president except one that we've had in America, right? Look at the majority of police departments across the country, right? It just is what it is. There's no getting around it, despite how horny people are to ignore the power structure, because as I've said a million times on this platform, there's a lot of reward in upholding the status quo, right? And there's very little reward for challenging the status quo. And people can get very comfortable in their positions, right? As if you branded yourself as a white leftist online, which is kind of an oxymoron, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's very fruitful for you, both for your branding and for your ego, if this is Kool-Aid you're actually sipping, to believe that it's possible at any point in the past, present, or future for air quotes white people to experience the same level of prejudice and lack of power that black people would have. Like I feel like we need to hammer home repeatedly that just the term white people, like just that entire class of human beings, was invented purely in opposition to black people, right? Black people has had blackness has been the same the entire time in terms of these are the black people and this is what black people are supposed to be and what they're supposed to do. White people, on the other hand, have had varying levels of rights that they enjoy in this country. Excuse me. Whereas the floor of the black experience has been the same since they brought us here, which is not necessarily true for white people. But he says the ideological orientation of individual/corporate perception and judgment, as well as the behavior of systems around the provincialism of the human beings into racial categories as if it were a given fact. Just pure circumlocution. Just like incredibly masturbatory. Incredibly masturbatory. Like just utter sophistry. Like you didn't have to say all that, my nigga. You really didn't have to say all that. And I say that as a working class person who is educated, clearly, right? I've read plenty of theory. And I actually work for a living. I work 12-hour shifts on a forklift, on a dock, right? I'm firmly in the category of the people you say you fight for on this platform every day. Yet, completely ignore my input when it comes to these types of issues, right? So let's break down what exactly he's saying here. The ideological orientation, so basically just like the belief of individual / corporate perception and judgment, as well as the behavior of systems around the provincialism of human beings into racial categories as if it were a given fact. Now, when you're talking about corporate perception, right, there's a reason why he put the / with individual / corporate, right? Because it's an either or. Because corporations are not individuals. Why he would do that is fucking beyond me. But when you're talking about systems, right, and the provincialism of these things, he's literally just saying, like, yeah, if you are trying to separate people by race in any way, shape, or form, that is racism. Which is the most limp dick fucking explanation you could possibly give. And it fits squarely with the whole narrative of the anti-FD signifier people and anti-me people, et cetera, where they're talking about how we're trying to do woke anti-race mixing or woke black, like woke ethno states or whatever. And it's projection. It's pure fucking projection. It's a self-report that they haven't engaged in any of the theory that produces these outcomes, right? Not even just talking about an examination of, the words of like Frantz Fanon or James Baldwin or W.E.B. Du Bois or, Kwame Ture. Any of these, like Kwame Ture was so transgressive that they fucking straight tried to completely edit him out of the civil rights movement. You get what I'm saying? Because the shit that he was saying was so fucking strong. They were like, oh no. We can't have this in the mainstream like milieu of political thought. Even though what he was saying was fucking obvious, right? And see, like I've had to learn quickly how to translate very technical jargon. There's nothing technical about racism, fam. You're making it technical, right? You're obfuscating it, but it's really not technical at all. It's exactly what they said it would be. White people on the top, black people on the bottom. And just because you have some white people kind of here-ish does not mean now that suddenly it's a wash. Especially when we have, like, no matter what metric we look at, it doesn't matter whether we're looking at wealth inequality, income inequality, proportion of hate crimes in America, right? It's routinely blacks getting fucked over the hardest. That's number one. But just like in another post that I've read, that I've seen, when we want to talk about the most violent demographic in America, it's unquestionably white people. When we talk about the 100 or so massacres and race riots in America during the Reconstruction, in the time between the Civil War and World War II, it's still happening. We got your Dylan Roofs. You have motherfuckers like the dude, what's his name, from the Wolves of Vinland, trying to burn down black churches. You have these Adam Waffen SS fuckers. Like, this is something that still happens in real time. And we're just horny to have this conversation about interpersonal racism as if me saying the C slur, calling some white kid a C slur and his feelings getting hurt is remotely comparable to, let's say, me risking getting fucking stabbed by going to a concert. It makes no fucking sense. And this is part of the reason why I didn't want to really, I agreed to it at first, but the longer I thought about it and the more I had conversation with some of my team about it, It's probably not a good idea. I know just me even talking about it now, or me mentioning him now, is gonna be fodder for the weird ass fucking like Chud Logic people and like VGG and DGGers and shit to fucking call me the R slur and talk about this weird shit or whatever. But it's like, I don't know how many times and how many different ways I can say they are literally the problem. You know what I mean? When we're talking about structural racism, the idea that it's even remotely worth talking about when it comes to interpersonal racism, it's literally just reverse racism. Like, be mindful of reverse racism. And I've said it before, but I'll say it now. Like, I am not chasing a view count. It should be fairly obvious that I'm not chasing a view count. Just the topics that I discuss here are, like I said, Kwame Ture straight got edited out of the civil rights movement because of how the things he said were so transgressive, right? And nothing I'm saying is super aggressive, right? It's very basic, but to these people, it's extremely transgressive because it's an attack on their identity. They perceive it as a personal attack. Right? When I say, yeah, I am anti-white because whiteness is not something that should exist, when we look into the history of what whiteness actually is, where it came from, and what its purpose is supposed to be, right? That's not something you can just reform and make mean something different, especially when all of the power structures that were created by white supremacy still exist, are still in play today. They perceive that as, oh, you just hate white people. It's very easy to just be like, hey, this guy hates white people, and then make a shitload of React content off of that of people who will never engage with my content, have never engaged with my content, or only engage with like fucking like 30-second clips from like my conversation with Shark 300 or some weird ass shit like that. Case in point, you have fucking Keffels calling Shark 300 being like, yeah, I'm gonna continue to call women negress and shit like this as based. You know what I mean? More to come. I mean, so here's the thing. When we're talking about escalations in violence, and I appreciate you, Austin. I fuck with you. There are a lot of people who are here to listen and enjoy these conversations. But for me, from where I'm sitting, understanding the full breadth of my personal history, not just my personal experiences, like with being a fly in the milk, being on Carlton shit, growing up where I grew up, having the experience and schooling that I've had. Beyond that, understanding my actual family history, getting to make my family tree, having elders who are still alive to tell me about the 50s and the 60s, some maybe even the 40s if I'm lucky, right? Having elders who are still alive to describe the climate of that time, right? And not just any people, right? My grandmother is from Jackson, Mississippi, right? Mississippi was the most violent state in America when it comes to racist, anti-black violence. Because I have that understanding in conjunction with, you know, having read, you know what I mean? Got the shit right here. I actually have that understanding. And so, and this is another reason why I don't like debating. This is one of those topics that's just like not a debate to me. It just is what it is. And you can stick your head in the sand and continue to be exactly what the people in those books described you to be, with your whiteness and your comfort and your privilege, right? Or we could entertain the conversation. You could learn something about yourself and say, you know what, maybe identifying as white is not a good thing. Maybe I should focus on deconstructing this system, because it routinely has negative outcomes. You can't tell me a single positive outcome from people identifying as white, because it doesn't fucking exist. Maybe for white people and white people alone, but I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. It's backed by theory. It's backed by experience. If you touch grass for 30 fucking minutes, you will understand this. Whiteness was literally established in existence in superiority to blackness. Those two things cannot be divorced from one another. Whiteness does not exist in a vacuum. Normal culture, regular culture, apolitical culture does not exist in a vacuum. It's all part of the same fuckery. Can we get a Kwame Ture focused Black History Month instead of MLK every year? This is part of the reason why I've built the platform that I've built, is so I can talk about these people. Matter of fact, y'all want to watch some Kwame Ture shit right now? Let's see if we can find some short talks and stuff.
Socialism. So I adhere also to socialism. I know the socialist economic system is the only system that will solve the unjustness that's to be found in a capitalist system.
Do you think that Black Americans can continue? Do you believe that Black Americans can continue under the current governmental system that we have here in the United States today? Or do you think that some sort of upheaval will have to take place and changes be made?
Well, outside of the government structure, systematically speaking, there must be an upheaval. The capitalist system is in grave crisis. And every time the capitalist system finds itself in crisis, its solution is war. It comes out of it by war. Today, that's going to be a little bit difficult. The peoples around the world, their consciousness has risen. Therefore, they are fighting back. And in America, those who will be called to go and fight, their consciousness has also risen, because of Vietnam notwithstanding. So that it will become a little bit more difficult, and the problems are going to rise. And the only way to solve the problems is by taking away from the rich that which they have no right to have, and equally distributing it among all the people in the society.
Martin Luther King was disturbed somewhat by your movement, and he felt that possibly he was afraid that it would cause what was referred to back then as a white backlash. In view of the, and now we never really did see a white,
and I have my thoughts on that, but we'll continue.
Backlash, I don't think, in my own opinion, during the 60s and 70s.
I'll just play a quip for y'all. In reference to that, I'll just play one quip.
Well, look, first of all, congratulations. Both of you guys were...
We're not there yet.
Well, you're further than anybody said you would be. And I have enough class, and I was raised well enough to say, when you outdo...
Yes, sir. Thank you.
When you outdo expectations, good for you. But there's another side to this. People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare. It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things. This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. I mean, we've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income. We've talked about class. We've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president, in part. And that's the part where the pain comes. And Donald Trump has a responsibility tonight to come out and reassure people that he is going to be the president of all the people who he insulted and offended and brushed aside. Yeah, when you say, you want to take your country back, you got a lot of people who feel that we're not represented well either. But we don't want to feel that someone has been elected by throwing away some of us to appeal more deeply to others. So this is a deeply painful moment tonight. I know it's not just about race. There's more going on than that. But race is here too. We got to talk about it.
What he's referring to in terms of the white backlash is something that will occur no matter what. Because when you're used to ownership, sharing shit seems like it feels like losing something. Right? So they were both correct, except in my opinion, MLK was kind of a coward in that regard. But
70s. But now, suddenly in this country, we do have a conservative movement, and people, Democrats are changing to Republicans and this sort of thing. Do you think that there's a possibility that there might be a delayed reaction to some of the things that blacks did during the 60s?
I think that there was quite a reaction. It continues. Of course, my disagreement with Dr. King on this point, though minute, was that there's no such thing as a backlash. What there is that we're under racism.
There we go.
Come to struggle against it. Certainly, as you struggle against any opponent, the opponent stiffens his resistance.
There you go.
And if the opponent happens to be someone oppressing you, they stiffen their oppression. If we have a plantation and there are slaves and the slaves never try a slave revolt, there's no need to tighten up security. But if the slaves try a slave revolt, you can be sure that security is going to be tightened. So consequently, when you struggle against oppression, it is to be expected that those who are oppressing you are going to tighten up the screws of oppression. Dr. King's, his real point was that what was happening was that with the Black Power slogan, it seemed to have isolated whites, and he felt that this isolation of whites, which could be a buffer zone, would just leave us out there isolated by ourselves.
That's where MLK fucked up, is because those people were never our allies. And if you want proof of that, look no further than your Sansals, your Chud Logics, your President Sundays, your Destinies, right?
Spoke to black students about the history of blacks in, the future of blacks in America. What kinds of things did you say to them? What kind of advice did you give them?
Well, the first is that we need to be more conscious of our responsibility as human beings and certainly as Africans. And in order to do this, it calls for us properly understanding our history. Our history in this country, our history in the world has not been written by us in the first instance. Even the best meaning, those outside of our race cannot properly comprehend the historical forces which we're up against. Therefore, one is for us to properly understand our history. Once we understand our history, it will give us a guide and map out the path that we must take. Certainly, we have to be organized. We are an unorganized people everywhere across the country, totally disorganized. Consequently, we must become organized, and we must have an organization which we run, which we direct, which we control, which we finance, and to which we give ideological direction, which is crucial. For us, of course, as Pan-Africanists, no African anywhere in the world will ever be free until all of Africa is free. Therefore, our primary occupation is the liberation of Africa and its unification under socialism. This, therefore, is the future direction of the struggle.
If this is achieved, if Africa becomes united and becomes under a total black rule situation, what then happens to the more than 13 million blacks in America? How do they relate to your Pan-African theory?
The conditions will materially change. In the first place, now Africans the world over will have to be respected. If your home is not in order, certainly you cannot expect respect living in somebody else's house. So the relations will change, and the relationship with Africans themselves will change. We say one of the biggest problems that an oppressed people face is this problem of consciousness. And consciousness is a result of awareness and ability to understand things. Africans all over America think that Africans have never done anything and cannot do anything.
A book called Black Skin, White Masks by Francis Fanon as well is a very, very good read. Very, very good explanation of this phenomena. The interview is white. He's asking white people questions.
Consequently, once Africa is unified and socialist, being one of the richest continents on the face of the earth, should be one of the most powerful. Consequently, their relationship vis-a-vis Africa will change, and vis-a-vis other citizens of the world, other nations and races of the world.
Okay. What then should, in your opinion, should black Americans do to help to organize? In other words, how do you advocate they organize? Should they organize along political lines, form some sort of religion? How do you think it should be done?
Of course, as a revolutionary, we must say along political lines. This is even Greek philosophy. Aristotle himself was to say, and I quote, man by nature is political, and all animals are political. Of course, everything is political, whether we know it or not. Where you go to school, what is taught in school, even how one goes to the bathroom is a political question. Consequently, for us, there must be political organization.
I've heard people predict that as conditions liberalize throughout the world, and of course we've gone back to being more conservative, so maybe these predictions aren't very correct now, but that eventually in the world we will have a single race, that the races will eventually work out problems, and interracial marriages will take place, and there will be one race in the world. Do you think that'll ever come true?
It's quite possible. Of course, it's a long way off, but anyway, I don't see any opposition to it. Before it occurs, however, each race will have to properly make its contribution to humanity. Consequently, the Africans will have to make their proper contribution, and it has to be then, of course, and really on an equal footing, not as it is today, where the Africans have nothing to say about it, but it's for your good, and therefore we've decided it for you.
Okay. How do you feel about organizations, religious organizations? I was watching television the other night
you know what? I'm not even gonna say anything.
Move into Africa and
what can I say?
Ask for money to donate for food for the Africans that are along the edge of the Sahara Desert, for instance. How do you feel about those movements? Are they good? Are they bad? Do you like them to do that? Would you rather they didn't do that? How do you feel about that?
Well, of course, any organization doing good must be supported, even if one doesn't see the good as a priority for oneself. One cannot not good. And certainly religious organizations really need to be in the forefront. You know, religions came into being to fight injustice and to bind men and women to just behavior and to proper behavior. And therefore, religious organizations must always be in the forefront fighting against injustices. This is why...
Shout out to Big Princess. Just throw that out there.
I have so much appreciation for King as a Christian, because as a Christian, he really understood Christianity and was on the front lines fighting against injustice. Unfortunately, most of the Christians in America do not understand the responsibility of Christianity, and some even use Christianity as a means of making a living and gathering more money. But Christian organizations and religious organizations must be in the forefront of doing good for the people. That's their responsibility.
Kwame, thank you very much for talking.
This is what I'm saying, is like, what I'm saying is not, nothing I'm saying is new or different. This is all shit. This is why when black people say your crown is bought and paid for, what they're saying is all of the struggles that you're going through and all of the shit that you think is so hard is shit that your fucking great-great-great-grandfather went through already and probably wrote about. Like, I don't know. Let's check something else out.
We must understand clearly when we talk about capitalism, who are the capitalists? As if we understand that there are only a few people who own and control the means of production in the society, then we begin to understand that there are a few capitalists. And these capitalists exploit everybody because everybody works for them. Everybody sells their labor to them. It is by selling your labor to a capitalist that he's really able to exploit you. Instead of going through theories, let me give some direct example. Let's say that I'm a capitalist. And let's say that I sell shirts. I sell shirts. I sell shirts. I have a shirt factory. Let's say this is my factory. I own it. The machinery. I have a place where I get cotton. Now I own it. I'm the capitalist. And let's say you are my workers. You are my workers. You don't know me. You
Yeah, this was him. I think he got arrested in Jackson, Mississippi, obviously. But this is during, I want to say this was during the Civil Rights Movement.
never see me. You see my
And this is obviously before he changed his name.
lackeys, you know, maybe my foreman, but you never see me. Now, let's say it costs me 50 cents for cotton for every shirt I make. And let's say it costs me 50 cents for upkeep of my machinery. That's $1. And let's suppose I pay you $1 for every shirt you make. That means it costs me $2 to get a shirt, labor included, your labor. I pay you for making the shirt. Now, when I sell the shirt, being a capitalist, and you must know something about capitalism, very important, the sole motivating force in a capitalist society is profit. Profit. That is the sole motivating force. Profit. Get money. Get it. Get it as fast as you can. Get it any way you can, but get it. Just get it. Just get it. And even in, in the African community, it affects us here in this country because Africans, those of us living in America, those of us born in America, we are imbued with the philosophy of capitalism, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. Thus, you find brothers and sisters even selling dope to their brothers and sisters to make money. Again, because we're imbued with the philosophy of get some money. Ain't nothing wrong to kill for money. Hell, your country is napalming for money. You can certainly kill for some money. All right, just get it. Just get it. It's the overall philosophy. When we talk about revolution, we must talk about changing values. We must talk about changing values, and we must understand these values. To the shirt factory. I've not forgotten. I'm just going to tie it in. I'll tie it in for you. I'll tie it in. You will see, you must look under the shirt factory, too. You must look for spiraling economy. That's very important, spiraling economy. I sell the shirt for $5. I sell the shirt for $5. I don't do anything. You're the one who make the shirt. I'm exploiting your labor. You toil, you sweat, I get the fruit. That's right, I get it. But you grow it, you plant it by the sweat of your brow. I get it. I sell the shirt for $5. I am exploiting your labor. I really am exploiting your labor. I mean, even when you want a shirt, hey, you got to come to my store and buy the shirt for $5. Yeah, I really am exploiting you. Now, you're workers, you're in a factory, so you begin to get social consciousness. Yes, you do. Marx talks about this. Because you're working together, you see the socialized process, the laboring process, and you're able to see clearly how you're being exploited. So you get together, and you start talking about, we want more money. You tell my foreman we want more money. So the foreman comes to see me. He says, the workers say they want more money. Later for them. Keep them working, man. So he comes back, no raise. So you all work, but you all get a little bit more agitated, you know, because it's scientific. The pressure rises, and as the pressure rises, the consciousness must rise. It's scientific. It can't be stopped. That's why revolution can't be stopped. Then you say, hey, look here, we're going to strike. So the foreman comes back and said, hey, they say they're going to strike. I say, oh, let them strike, man. And sure enough, y'all strike. Yeah, y'all strike on me. Now, when you strike, of course, my machinery stops. I ain't making no money. So after a while, I called my foreman. I said, what do they want? He says, well, they said they want $1.50 more a shirt. They want 50 cents more a shirt. So I said, okay, let them have it. So I'll bring you back. You happy? I pay you $1.50 more. Right, so it now costs me $2.50 to make a shirt. It cost me $2.50 to make a shirt. Before, it cost me $2. I was selling it for $5. But hey, look here. I can't go out there and keep selling it for $5. Hey, how am I going to do that? I'm going to lose profit. And look here. Since the sole motivating force in a capitalist system is profit, ain't no need for me to come and sell it for $5.50. Hey, no. Next time you see that shirt on the market, it's going to cost you $7.50. Right, right. And that's what's known as the spiraling economy, because profit is what about wages go up into demands of the workers and prices rocket. Wages go up, prices rockets, and it keeps going and going and going until it's got to blow the top. It's scientifically real. That's why Nixon is talking about freezing wages and freezing prices. He's stupid. You got to freeze capitalism, Nixon. Freeze capitalism. That's the problem. That's the problem. Yes, that's the problem. You must understand these concepts, because once you begin to understand them and master them, you will see the inevitability of revolution. Not only the inevitability of revolution, but you will see the inevitability of victory for the struggling masses around the world once you understand the scientific principles of revolution. Once you understand it.
And that's the hopium, is that even if I don't see it in my lifetime, it's going to happen. Here's Kwame Ture later in his life in good old Cincinnati, Ohio.
Europe.
Talking about Pan-Africanism.
Europe everywhere speaks of European continental unity, even though Europe has fought more fratricidal wars than...
Uh-oh, Pan-Africanism. Oh no, is he talking about woke anti-race mixing? Is it a woke ethno-state? Uh-oh, let's listen.
Any other continent, or all the continents put together, Europe still speaks of European continental unity. Of course, Africa will unify before Europe, but that's not the point of discussion here this evening. The fact that Europe, with all the fratricidal wars she has fought, can speak of continental unity shows this evolutionary process. Africa, like any other society, anywhere in the world, was involved in this same evolutionary process, going from family to tribe, to clan, to nation, to continent. This evolutionary process was interrupted by European imperialism. It came in two forms, slavery and colonialism. First, they took over 300 million, the strongest, out of Africa, and then they divided Africa at the Berlin Conference. So you can see that Africa herself was moving on this evolutionary process. This evolutionary process, which would lead to continental unity, and Africa will still be the first continent unified, was interrupted by European capitalism. Since it was interrupted by European capitalism and evolutionary process, the only way that Africa can unite today is through a revolutionary process aiming at a socialist economy. If capitalism destroyed us, it doesn't make sense to use capitalism to continue with it. We must use the antithesis of capitalism, which of course is socialism. And certainly if the evolutionary process has been interrupted, the only way we can capture the time lost is through a revolutionary process. We state these facts only to let you know that those of us who are revolutionary, Pan-Africanists, is not because we love revolution. It is historically determined, and we have no alternative but to follow history and to use history for the benefit of our people. So this then is the general outlines of Pan-Africanism. So you must not think that Africanism just began. Had Africa been left untrampled by European imperialism, we would have a long time achieved continental unity. Secondly, Pan-Africanism must be seen as a movement, a mass movement. And this mass movement must be properly understood. Africa, of course, because of racism, is belittled everywhere. And many people do not see Africa's constant, underline the word constant, contributions to world civilization. Since the 1940s, Africa has given, even before the 1940s actually, we can go back to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, Africa has given to world political movements a mass character.
Even before that, if we want to talk about like just literal contributions to humanity, inoculation, right? Variolation, I think it was called in the 1700s, right? Vaccines came from Africa.
Africans revolt in masses, never as a vanguard party. If you look at the independence struggle in Africa, it was nothing less than mass. If you look at the struggle in the Caribbean for independence, it was nothing less than mass. And even in the United States of America, the only movement they call a mass movement is our movement. Therefore, this mass character must be properly understood. Pan-Africanism has this mass character. Africans have this mass character in responding. And our responsibility is to bring this mass character together, make it precise so that it can direct its blows at the enemy, hitting him until we knock him down. Therefore, the task of Pan-Africanism is to gather the masses of our people together in the same organization, irrespective of where they find themselves, be it in Europe, be it in the United States, be it in the Caribbean, or be it in Africa. This is the first aspect, then we must understand. Pan-Africanism found its organizational expressions in 1900. Here, a Pan-African conference, here the word conference, was organized by Africans from all over the world. They came together deciding that something must be done for Africa. One of the leading organizers of this conference was a man by the name of Henry Sylvester Williams, born in Trinidad, a man whom you should do some history on, a very, very great man. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois attended the conference, but he was not one of the leaders in 1900. By 1917, 1918, the idea of a necessity for a Pan-African Congress, not conference, Congress, was to be called. But most of the people who did the conference were dead. Henry Sylvester Williams was dead. A lot of them were dead. Du Bois was about the only one who was alive. Du Bois recognized he had a historic responsibility to continue the work of Pan-Africanism, so he called the first Pan-African Congress. Make a clear distinction. The first one in 1900 was a conference. Du Bois, being intelligent, understanding that a conference is limited and a Congress has more elasticity and can go longer, called it a Pan-African Congress. From the 1990s up until 1945s, we could say seriously, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois just about single-handedly kept the flame of Pan-Africanism alive. One thing must also be underlined to you. Pan-Africanism was brought into being in its organized form by the Africans outside of Africa. This was done only because of the oppression of Africa. At that time, Africa was under total colonial domination. There could be no political meetings. As a matter of fact, if you had the paper of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, you could go to jail. So the conditions were such that it was difficult for the Africans on the continent to organize. Africans off of the continent, recognizing this, came quickly to fill up that gap. So Pan-Africanism itself was brought to bear by the diaspora. But you must not think that the diaspora brought Pan-Africanism for the diaspora. Not at all. The center of the discussions has always been Africa. This must be properly understood. Some people try to shift it, take it somewhere else, but Africa has always been the focus. Du Bois carried on his congresses up until the 5th Congress in 1945. Because of time, we're just going through them quickly. In 1945, saw the 5th Pan-African Congress. Here, you had Africans born on the continent, in the Caribbean, and Africans, of course, born in Europe and the United States. At this 5th Pan-African Congress, there were 3 co-secretaries, of course, W.E.B. Du Bois, George Padmore of Trinidad, and Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. So he had an African from the Caribbean, one from the United States, and one from the continent, who were co-secretaries of the 5th Pan-African Congress. The 5th Pan-African Congress is crucial for us. A decision was made there. They said that the final confrontation with colonialism is coming. After all, this is 1945, and you must know that there's negative and positives in everything.
80 years ago, they said this. I'm sorry. Yeah, 80 years ago.
I remember once as a young man reading Mein Kampf on an airplane, sitting next to a woman. She said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What do you mean what I'm doing? I'm reading Mein Kampf." "Why are you reading it?" I said, "Well, Hitler is a very important man. He had historical effects on the world, you know." She said, "Well, I'm a Jew." I said, "Have you read it?" She said, "No." I said, "Oh, that's bad." I said, "Have you not read Sun Yat-sen?" She said, "No." I said, "He says the first law of war is to know the enemy." If I were a Jew, I would read everything there is to read on Hitler. Of course. Of course. So, while reading Hitler, she was arguing. I said, "Well, Hitler had some positive effect anyway." She said, "What positive effect did Hitler have?" I said, "Hitler weakened European imperialism. He weakened the British, he weakened the French, he weakened the Portuguese, he weakened the Belgians, and that's how we got independence." And these are facts of life. These are facts of life. When Hitler got through with Britain, when the Indians said they want independence, Britain could do anything but get out the way and let them have independence. Matter of fact, they got Mahatma Gandhi quick because they didn't want to deal with the armed struggle that the Indians were preparing for British imperialism.
Hold up. And before they say that this is an endorsement of Hitler by Kwame Ture, because people are fucking stupid.
In India. And by the time India was free, well, it was over. China came up. After China, of course, Africa throughout, etc., etc. And by 1960, in 15 short years of the declaration of the 5th Pan-African Congress in 1945, 2/3 of the African continent was independent. You must understand clearly the importance of this. Now, at the 5th Pan-African Congress, they said the only solution to the final confrontation is mass organization. And I say, if you look at Africans, we have nothing but mass character in our struggles. Of course, this mass character for the moment is spontaneous and must be transformed to something that is planned and permanent. But certainly the mass character is there. If you just look back to the Rodney King situation, those Africans who rebelled en masse. They had no planning. That's how backward they were.
2020.
They didn't think about it. Just on the spot, they say, okay, it's too much, let's go, let's get them. And everybody says, okay, let's get them. And we rise up as mass and we get them. And then we sit down for 29 years. Of course. Of course. But the mass character is there, and we must understand this mass character. The Fifth Pan-African Congress, most of Africa, of course, was colonized. Kwame Nkrumah came to change all this. By 1958, he threw the British out of Cape Coast and named it Ghana. And Nkrumah declared before the entire world that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked with the entire continent of Africa and its unification and liberty. And Ghana, Nkrumah made Ghana the base for every movement that fought against colonialism. Mugabe, who's now the head of Zimbabwe, where was he trained? In Ghana. Go and ask all of them. Nkrumah set up freedom schools, teaching them how to use arms to go and fight. It was Nkrumah who built the base and pushed Pan-Africanism. He understood that Africa was divided in 1865 at the Berlin Conference, and that we cannot accept visions imposed upon us by our enemy. Africa is one, we must unify her. This has been the task. Of course, since Nkrumah, the movement picked up. The independence of Guinea came in the same 1958, later that year, and with Sekou Touré and Kwame Nkrumah, the movement really coalesced force. The Pan-African movement, of course, was not going to be left alone. Imperialism would seek to divide it. That's their job. Sekou Touré says, if the enemy is not doing anything against you, that's because you're not doing anything. Of course. Matter of fact, when they're not doing anything against me, I get scared. What am I doing wrong? So their job was to divide, and if you will look, they divided the Pan-African movement into what was called the Casablanca bloc and the Monrovia bloc, the revolutionaries and the reactionaries, to put it in one simple word. Of course, the Casablanca group included the fighting forces in Algeria, the FLN, which the other African states refused to recognize. Of course, Nasser had to be in it. Of course, Nkrumah. Of course, Sekou Touré, Tunisia, and of course, Mohammed V in Morocco, who had just waged serious war to get independence away from the French. The other group was called the Moderate Group, and they were all made up of reactionaries and scum of our race who didn't want African unity, and there was a million problems and sabotage it and work for imperialism against the interests of their people, and that still continues today. I always say one of the weaknesses of the African Revolution is that we are the only people who allow our enemies to strut with impunity amongst us. It's only because of our weakness. It's only because of our weakness. Only because of our weakness. Plus
Next.
I mean, the answers really have been there. The answers are there.
We must understand clearly when we...
This is a part of another reason why I don't debate this shit, is because you're going back and forth with goofy people. People who either have not engaged with this material or don't understand it even if they have. I'm gonna leave y'all with one more that I'm gonna raid into Joe Louis and probably dip, because I'm starting, this fucking Alka-Seltzer's starting to kick in.
With our struggle since the 60s, you will see nothing but betrayals by the petty bourgeois elements in our society. The African bourgeoisie is the most corrupt bourgeoisie in the world. In Africa, they seek luxury in the midst of mass suffering. There are more Mercedes in Africa than in any other continent in the world. In America, as soon as they arrive at a position based on this blood of the people, they snatch that position and run away from the people. But you must not think that they represent the people. They only represent their opportunistic self, using the people every step of the way. So you must not be confused.
Sharky.
It must be clear then, for the 60s, the class struggle in the African Revolution must be more ruthless and uncompromising than in any other revolution. Here then the masses must come without pity and without mercy to trample upon these reactionary pigs who, after the people have gained struggle through their blood, come to hand back the gains on a silver platter to the very enemy the people fought. This will come as a natural consequence. The people themselves are everywhere screaming that it's time for them to deal with these reactionary pigs. Even in America, they say, our leaders must be held accountable. They're only saying here that these people must be accountable to those who made it possible for them to get there. Thus, not only is the revolution inevitable, but it is clarifying itself and it is qualifying itself. For the African masses everywhere, the clairpoised position now for class struggle has become inevitable and irreversible. The petty bourgeoisie everywhere will be running for cover, but the masses will spare them not. Consequently, we who have dedicated our lives to the people's struggle, we who, knowing that the people will always be free, we, understanding that we must make a contribution to qualify our struggle since the 60s, have been dedicating all our energies to only one task: the organization of the masses of our people. The organization of the masses of our people. We are not running for mayor. We're not running for president. No changes can come from the top down. We're not stupid. Changes can only come from the bottom up. The masses and the masses alone can make them. If you want to learn something from the 60s, the lesson is simple: organize the masses of the people. Thank you.
And herein lies the difference, right? When we're calling someone a coon, we're saying that you are a black petty bourgeois, right? You are selling out your own people. What exactly is implied or inferred by calling someone a negress or a niggerita? And why is this based language to use? I don't know. Food for thought. Yeah, thanks, Obama. Yeah, a fat lot of good Obama presidency did for black people in America and around the world. But on that note, I'm going to raid into Joe Lewis. Because there's so few of us on this fucking platform, I swear to you. And motherfuckers try their hardest to go at us, and they can't. Because they got no leg to stand on. But I'll catch y'all another time. I'll see you.